Hey everyone, Julian here today. I'm going to be showing you how to make the modern Acid Techno 303. You know, there's a very particular sound that people are using now that's not just like, bandpass filter with a little bit of resonance. There's a little bit more to it, so we're going to be explaining how to do that and how to master it in this video. To go along with this video, I just dropped a new pack called Ultimate Modern 303 Acid Lines. The link is at the top of the description. You get these 5 really high quality acid lines. You get the audio, the MIDI, and the project file. I'll play you a few of them really quick. So it's all super high quality stuff. Plus you get some bonus effect samples and some drum loops. So it's everything you need to make a really awesome acid track. Links at the top of the description, guys. This really helps support me. But it's really about creating these high quality, resources that you guys can take and make the best tracks of your life. I'm really trying to help the production community here get access to some really, really high quality sounds, because that is how you're going to make your best tracks. So yeah, thank you so much for the support. Links at the top of the description. Definitely grab that and let's dive in. Alright, so I've got 2 303s here that kind of show different things that I'm going to break down. So, this first one here, as far as the MIDI goes, I want to show you, it's pretty simple, right? If you look at this, it's only 3 notes. It's just D, E, and F. We're in the key of D minor here. It's the root note, the 9th, and the minor 3rd, which is kind of like a fancy way of saying like 1 note, 2 notes up, and then 3 notes up, right? Now, the first thing with the MIDI is honestly just choose only a few notes, right? But also it's this call and response. And it's call and response on a lot of different levels. So if you look at this here, you can see like so the first call and response would be like this, right? Like call, response. We're getting. Right, so that would be like that first call and response. But then there's also this one, which would be like call and then response, right? Right, so you can hear that is like a call and then a response. And so it's all these different levels, even inside of like the quarter notes. Even like this could kind of be like a call and response, like the call and then the response. Right? So it's just, that's really how this is working. It's like very few notes, but kind of using the notes more so as like percussive hits, right? And then as far as the sound goes, so there's a few little keys to the modern 303 that I'm hearing. The first thing is actually using square waves instead of just saw waves. A lot of times when we think of a 303, I think you think of a saw wave. But the original 303 did have a saw wave and a square wave on it. So using a square wave can kind of get you like that authentic sound as well. And what it'll also give you is like a fatter 303. Like if I switch this to a saw wave and then back to a square, hear how it's just super fat like that? So that's what that's doing. So that's the first tip. The second tip that I think can really help get the synth a little bit closer to that modern sound is a little bit of attack on your filter envelope. People don't talk about this enough, right? Like, because when you have your filter, obviously with no attack kind of gives you like that 303 punch. But if you turn up the attack a little more, you hear how it gives you like a whoop. And I can do it even. See what I mean? So that can kind of give you that. Now for this actual MIDI, this is pretty good here. If I turn it up. So you can also kind of get like that. And you can even automate it like that too. Like maybe something like. Right, you know, stuff like that. But that attack will really give it just kind of more of that modern sound. And then also automating not only the frequency, right? You can see we're doing that. But also automating the resonance so that some of the notes kind of get a bit more juicy. And kind of more like that. Like if we turn off the resonance automation, it's not as dynamic. So that's a big thing. We're also using a bit of the soft shaper inside of Operator. This is why I like Operator for these. Another tip I think is important is using amp simulators, because to really get that kind of like you know what I'm talking about, the crunch like we have here, or even like this one. That like modern kind of crunchy 303, you need to push it and you need a bit more texture in your distortion. And that's what the amp simulator is really good for. See, without it, it's just kind of like a flat square wave going into a bandpass. The amp is that thing that's really going to give it that like overblown, crunchy kind of distortion like that, right? And then also another thing would be like multiple distortions. Like you know, you don't always just want to do it with like one, because if we use just the amp, it's pretty good and it has the texture. It's not quite there just yet though. It really needs that kind of like push that the saturator gives it. And yeah, so that would be the first 303 there. The second 303 here is more of like a saw wave 303, and this is kind of also used a lot now, but how to get it like not just like that classic saw wave 303, but how to make the saw wave really full and fat like that. So the first thing I think is the actual notes also. You know, when we're doing these saw wave 303s, I like to have more held out notes like that. Like you notice the square wave one was just moving really fast. Right, that tends to be better for the like short staccato punchy ones. But when you want this like those kind of slides, the saw wave tends to be better for it. And this one has an even more apparent call and response, right? Where it's like call, response. So we've got that. And then for the sound here, this is also made with Operator. So yeah, Operator is really, really good for the 303. For whatever reason, it's just the filters on there and the actual oscillators really sit well. So we've got a saw wave. Like I said, this is a saw 303. We also have a little bit of a square wave though. And that is the first tip to getting the saw wave 303, to get that kind of like modern saw 303 and not just like the classic, you know, like future acid house style, is actually adding a little bit of a square wave in. Even though the original 303 is technically one oscillator, check it out. Here's just one saw wave. See, it's a bit thin, but it does have that texture. It's just too thin. And then when we add in the square wave, it's perfect. It literally just fills that out so nicely without taking away from the saw wave. So we've got the saw wave with a little bit of a square wave. That's the first tip. Then another tip when you're using the saw wave 303 is to actually use a low pass filter instead of a band pass. So a band pass with the saw is a little bit too like watery. The 12 dB low pass can be really good. We've got a sine shaper. We have a bit of key tracking on that. So like the low notes will be more closed and the high notes will be more open. And also there's this frequency velocity, meaning the lower the velocity is, the lower the filter frequency will be, and the higher the velocity is, the higher the filter frequency will be. So what that means is we can bring in this add some random here. And now it's giving us random velocity, so the filter is going to be at like slightly random places. Here's without that. With it. See, it just gives it a lot more movement and brings it to life. We've also got a little LFO on the filter there. This one, same deal. Like I was saying, it's that amp simulator distortion. I think when you start to do the saw 303 though, you want to blend the distortion more, because here's without it. It's already pretty fat and crunchy. And then these things you can hear just add a bit of that texture. And then just some EQ. And yeah, so that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the ultimate modern 303 acid lines at the top of the description on my website. It's a really great value. You know, it's a really, really great price to get some extremely high quality professional sounds like this that'll take your tracks to the next level and really get you where you've been trying to get. You know, this is meant to be a really great tool for you guys to get the sounds. You know, it's not just a little toy. It's actually some really high quality sounds I put together at an affordable price so you guys can make the best music of your life. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. Enjoy making your best tracks, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.